Beyond the buzzer, inside the game, this is Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Hey, it's Monday. Here we are, Larry Smith here, Sports IQ. The voice is not quite back. It's better than Friday. Appreciate you hanging around. Still on. It's on the rebound. You know, I really need one more full day of basketball. That's one thing about under the weather during March Madness is that you can't go anywhere. Called into work, and everyone can hear your voice isn't right, and I need my voice to work, right? So it's like I watched more basketball Friday, Saturday, Sunday than I have probably since college. I mean, it was beautiful. It's wonderful. Maybe CNN days, Turner days. I was getting paid to work, so I was in all day for those. So I take that back. It's been a few years. But what games, man! They're amazing. We got some great guests coming up this week. Today, in a few minutes, we have Anna Snyder. She's talking about Duke, number one team in the country. Small scare for about 30 minutes on Thursday, but came through clean. They have moved on to the Sweet 16. Also, the LA Lakers. Ben Royer is going to join us. Talking about the Lakers. They got the big game in Detroit later tonight. Later on this week, we've got a Matt Stevens talk in Illinois. We are talking to Tom Kakert back on the Iowa Hawkeyes. That incredible shot we'll talk about here in a minute to knock off Florida. Also Arkansas. We got David Cobb, CBS. So man, it's a great week. Stay here for your Sweet 16 stuff. Okay, let's get to it. Talking about the Iowa team. If you're a college basketball fan, again, great weekend overall. This was outstanding. Great endings, comebacks, all you could ever want in a round of 32. In Tampa, the defending champion Florida Gators, their run coming to an end thanks to Iowa. The Hawkeyes, Alvaro Falgueras hitting a three-pointer with 4.5 seconds left. Iowa eliminated the defending national champs 73-72. Under first-year coach Ben McCallum, the Hawkeyes reached the Sweet 16 for the first time since 1999. Florida, 27-8 on the seasons where they bow out and become the first number one seed to be knocked out of this year's tournament. In San Diego, another school making the Sweet 16 for the first time this century, Dylan Darling, who had not hit a shot all game, sank the driving layup as time expired for his only bucket. St. John's advancing to its first Sweet 16, also since 1999, 67-65 over Kansas. Zuby Ejiofor and Bryce Hopkins each with 18 points for the fifth-seeded Red Storm. They go to 30-6 in the season. And boy, they have roared back to college basketball prominence in just 3 seasons under legendary coach Rick Pitino. Fletcher Lawyer scored 24 points. Trey Kaufman-Renn added 19 and 9 rebounds as well. 2-seed Purdue beating Miami 79-69. Jaden Bradley scoring 12 of his 18 points in the second half. Top-seeded Arizona beating the number 9 seed Utah State 78-66. And again, it was closer to that until about the final 3 minutes, by the way. So the Wildcats advanced to the Sweet 16 for the 4th time in 5 seasons under coach Tommy Lloyd. Other Sunday winners include Tennessee, Alabama, UConn, and Iowa State. By the way, the Big Ten, 6 teams in there. The first time ever they've had that many teams advance to the regional semifinals, which we'll pick up with 2 sites on Thursday and 2 more sites on Friday. On the women's side, TCU getting 18 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists from Olivia Miles, as the Horned Frogs fended off the upset bid of Washington 62-59 in overtime. Madison Booker nearly beat Oregon single-handedly on Sunday. 40 points, Texas making it look easy over Oregon, 100-58. Micaiah Williams and Flau'jae Johnson each with 24 points. Second-seeded Lady Tigers of LSU had no issues in a 101-47 romp over Texas Tech. Some coaching nuggets to pass along. Providence hired 38-year-old Brian Hodgkins to be the next head coach of the men's basketball program there, the school announced on Sunday. Hodgkins agreed to a 5-year contract with Providence, according to CBS Sports. He'll have some NIL dollars to play with as well, per a couple of sources. CBS Sports said the Friars expected to operate north of $10 million in NIL and revenue sharing for the upcoming season. That type of spending power will make PC a player in the portal market leading up to its official opening here on April 7th. That's the day after the national title game. But conversations are already going on, so we just deal with that. Not a done deal yet, but it looks like Syracuse is going to stay in the Boeheim tree by hiring Siena's Gary McNamara. His winning comes out of weeks of debate amongst big money players at Syracuse, per CBS Sports again, sources by Matt Norlander, who said there was a faction of boosters that were adamant about hiring outside the Syracuse Jim Boeheim tree. We just talked with Siena assistant and former Syracuse player Ryan Blackwell here on the show last week, And he said the right things heading into the Duke game. But again, he's turned things around in Siena, got them in the dance, and now it appears headed back to Syracuse. With a variety of potential candidates not showing a serious interest due to certain NIL capabilities, McNamara quickly became a sentimental and practical lead candidate as the search progressed over the weekend. Another position just opening earlier today, and that's at Creighton, where Greg McDermott said he is going to step down just a couple years removed from a Final Four appearance, or I mean, should make that Elite Eight appearance with the Creighton Blue Jays. We're going to get back now to college basketball, and here's the one thing. So our next guest also has a cold, and before we started the show, she apologized. They said, clearly you didn't listen to the first 5 minutes of our show because I'm over here with bronchitis where we're going through. Anna Snyder joins us once again. Love to have her on. Duke beat writer with the Fayetteville Observer. And I hope that the meds are working for you. I mean, you got a Final Four trip coming up here next week, probably.
Yes, I know. I need to go to the store today and bulk up on some for sure. But thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for sticking with us for a few minutes here. Let's talk about these Duke Blue Devils. Listen, this was an intriguing game where everyone was watching Thursday afternoon. They just couldn't get things going against Siena. And they were down 13, and that pivotal moment we'll talk about here in a moment in the second half. What happened to Duke in those first 25, 30 minutes of the game?
Yeah, talking to the players post game, it seemed like maybe they kind of went into it not with the best mindset, thinking, I think it was one of the Boozer brothers said they thought it was going to be given to them maybe. And I don't know if you heard what Malik Brown said at halftime as well. Did you guys hear that? But I think that could have maybe been misconstrued a little bit, but he was just asked what the message was at halftime, and he said that they thought it was going to be a cakewalk. And I think that was just maybe more so the message. Siena was making the shots. I think they shot like 55%. So yeah, that was crazy. The halftime Siena went in with a double-digit lead. There's definitely a lot of people like, what is going on? Because that had only happened 2 other times that a 16 seed had taken down a 1 seed before.
Yeah. And both in the last 10 years, Virginia and Purdue both going down. You're exactly right. And I thought the big pivotal moment was the sequence where Siena missed it. The one guy had a wide open dunk that he missed.
Yeah.
Follow-up dunk missed. They go down and score on a fast break. And so instead of being up 15 points, you're up 11, miss a shot, go down and another fast break. Now you're down. And all of a sudden, Duke's got it within 2 and they eke out the victory, which again, March is all about survive and advance. But I think clearly because they looked much stronger against TCU, putting them away on Sunday, message was sent that you have to bring it every single night. When you have freshmen and your 2-star freshmen are doing more commercials than anybody during all the whole weekend, it's, kind of lose sight of the work that has to be put in.
Yeah, exactly. The message 100% was definitely delivered and received by the players. And I think it was Cameron who said something to me like that they got their talk back. So you could just tell they were communicating a lot more. And they had that Duke defense in the second half is what he said as well.
Yeah, once they finally kind of got those baskets, got the crowd into it, you're right there, just a few hours away. It was a much stronger game there. So they move on there. TC looked very good. You've got the St. John's game coming up now later this week in the regional semifinals up there in DC. And that's one where Duke always has the advantage in March that because they're always one of the top teams, they get those favored spots in the regional finals, right? Be it somewhere in Atlanta or in DC or in New York. But now you've got St. John's, and the announcer mentioned it after the game. There's a short Amtrak ride away from DC. So it should be a great matchup with large fan bases on both sides.
Yeah, no, I'm really, really looking forward to that one. It's going to be really good. I think it's going to be a defensive battle. And John Shire versus Rick Pitino coaching is going to be really cool to watch. That's definitely going to be a very good matchup.
No question about that. Talk about this. What do you know so far about the St. John's team and how they match up with Duke?
Yeah, so I watched them last night. Well, I'm not going to lie. I was so tired when I got home. I definitely accidentally slept for the first half, but I saw the second half against Kansas. And it seemed like they were making a lot more. They had a player I saw, he scored 18 points and all of them were on threes. And I don't think they're normally a 3-point shooting team, but I mean, they have the Big East player of the year and the Big East defensive player of the year. And Zuby Ejiofor, I apologize if I said that wrong, but they're definitely a good defensive team. So it's going to be really interesting to see the battle on the inside.
I think you got it right. If you didn't get it right, we both say it wrong because I say it the way you just said it.
Okay.
Patrick Gamba was back after missing the game against Siena. What kind of difference did he make in the game against TCU?
Yeah, you could just tell. I would probably say from what the players said, the biggest difference is just the energy. Malik Brown said he thought it may have been the most energy the team has had all year just because they knew that they were going to get him back. And also it just helps Cam and Malik more within the front court as well. It just helps make them stronger. And, maybe they can get a little more rest and if foul trouble comes into play there. So just makes the team more complete 100%.
It's crazy when you look at this regional, these four teams. You've got three coaches, all who've won national titles in UConn, Dan Hurley, Tom Izzo, Michigan State, and of course, Rick Pitino has done this. And it feels like that John Shire will get one. He's just early in his career. But what a pedigree with these four programs and these four coaches going at it there in DC.
I know. It's pretty cool the way, the region shaped up this year. It's awesome. I'm definitely super excited. I have some really good basketball to watch coming up, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, take me back. I'm kind of bouncing around here a little bit with the Red Storm and with Duke. I want to get to Coach Shire taking this team last year, getting to his first Final Four since taking over the Duke program. What do you think he learned from that experience that he now can put into this run in this NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I think he's definitely learning something every day, as all of us are. Um, to be honest, I don't know. I would have to ask him, I guess, but I'm sure he just learned a lot about just taking a team that far, what it takes to take a team that far, and that obviously will correlate into this year as they look to make a similar run.
We've talked a lot about the ACC being stronger this year with some great runs. Some first-year coaches, Ryan Odom with Virginia, Jay Lucas down in Miami, of course. North Carolina was in the dance, Clemson in the dance, Louisville, NC State. Talk about just in terms of the ACC, though, only getting that one team into the Sweet 16. Is there still progress made there, or the perception is still kind of the ACC is struggling right now with seeing 6 teams out of the Big Ten, several out of the SEC and the Big 12?
Yeah, that perception definitely, I'm sure, still exists among others. It definitely was a little crazy. Was not expecting, UNC to for that round of 64 exit. That upset was, or just that comeback by VCU was crazy. But I think overall, just as if you look at the year as a whole, the play in the ACC was definitely elevated. But you do have a point there with all the other conferences that, have more teams that are still going. But it's also sometimes just the way the cards fall with matchups as well.
Yeah, no question about that. North Carolina, is a lot of turmoil there as well. What are Duke fans saying about Carolina's early exits and the possibility now of a new head coach?
Yeah, Duke fans are definitely loving it, but I've seen so many things on Twitter. But yeah, that was definitely surprising. There's a lot going on over there in Chapel Hill, so it'll be interesting to see what happens the next couple days.
Absolutely. Couple questions here before we let you go and get back to getting your rest again. Let's say the Duke gets past St. John's. You have again a tough matchup with UConn or Michigan State later. What does this team have to do in these next potentially 4 games to win the championship?
Yeah, I think Duke, they need to obviously just keep playing their Duke defense. They need to keep the lesson that they learned from that first game against Siena. They know not to underestimate anybody now, but obviously anyone you're playing going forward is just the pool just keeps getting more competitive and yeah, they just need to keep playing their Duke defense and it'll be interesting. I don't know if you saw what was reported this morning by John Rothstein that John Shire said that Caleb Foster has an outside chance of playing, which outside chance, obviously it's outside chance. So it's probably stretched. But it'll be interesting to see if they can get their whole team back, as they look to keep going. But yeah, I think they just need to keep relying on what they know their identity is, and that's their strength on the inside, and then their strength on the defensive side of the ball.
And that kind of brings my next question. Duke only going about 7 deep right now. Will those depth issues, what kind of problems could they cause here in this final stretch run?
We saw a small field of it with the ACC tournament, and that didn't really seem to affect them much there. Caden Boozer played. I think he played maybe every minute against either Clemson or Florida State, and then almost every minute against Virginia. But obviously there's more games now, so there's going to be probably a little just more tiredness naturally. But I don't think that they've showed themselves yet. And talking to the players post game, they seem pretty confident that they won't show up, but time will tell.
Yeah. Well, there's one thing about Duke. If any program, there's a culture of knowing how to handle March in terms of getting your rest during the week and then playing two games, one day apart there on the weekend. So we look forward to Duke doing Duke things, as you say. Anna, listen, we appreciate you hanging in there, being on the show despite not feeling well. Get to feel better, and hopefully you'll have a good time in DC this weekend.
Thank you. Yes, definitely looking forward to it.
Okay, thanks so much. Anna Snyder joining us once again. She's the Duke beat writer for the Fayetteville Observer. It is number 1 Duke against the 5 seed St. John Red Storm coming up in DC in the regional semifinals. And then that other game, by the way, from that regional pod, 2 seed UConn, 3 seed Michigan State, 2 of the more fiery coaches. Get ready for, I don't know, if you have a lip reader in the house, tell them to go watch a movie or something because it could get interesting with those two. Anyway, all right, more sports IQs coming up after this.
Those old golf clubs sitting in your garage right now, there's a good chance they're worth real money. That driver you replaced, those irons you upgraded, even that putter collecting dust. Golf Roots lets you trade them in for cash or credit toward your next set. And right now, Sports IQ listeners get exclusive offers. Take $20 off any order over $100 with code SIQSALE, or get a 15% bonus on your trade-in value with code SIQ TRADE-IN. That means the clubs in your garage could be worth even more. Golf Roots is on a mission to make golf more accessible, offering high-quality, pre-owned name brand clubs for every skill level. And if you're just starting out, the Just the Roots starter set is one of the most affordable ways to begin, with full trade-in credit when you're ready to upgrade. So don't let your old gear sit there losing value. Go to golfroots.com and see how you can start or upgrade your golf journey today. Use code SIQSALE for $20 off or SIQ trade-in for 15% extra when you trade in your old clubs. That's golfroots.com. Golf Roots. Upgrade smarter.
Listen, were you forced into getting a solar contract and now you just don't want it anymore? Maybe the solar company misled you. Or is your solar contract buried with hidden fees? Are you not saving the amount of money you thought you would on your energy costs? Don't worry. At the Solar Exit Hotline, we can help you cancel your solar contract, even if the panels are already installed. Our experienced legal team will review your contract and help you cancel it, possibly saving you thousands of dollars. You got to call right now for complete details. So listen, if you're not happy with your solar contract for any reason, we are here to help you cancel it. Call the Solar Exit Hotline now for immediate options to help you exit your solar contract. This call is 100% free.
Call 855-227-0286. That's 855-227-0286. Call us right now.
You're listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Welcome back here to the show. Man, great talk with Anna. You know, what a trooper. What a trooper. Coming through, didn't feel well. Still answered the bell. That's what we call it. That's a pro right there. Hey, one other NFL note that just came in this morning. Jackson Smith and Jigba scoring, signing again with the Seattle Seahawks for a record deal. ESPN reporting 4 years, $168.6 million. Obviously makes him the highest paid wide receiver in NFL history. $120 million of that is guaranteed. Average salary, $42.15 million per year. The 2-time Pro Bowler now signed with the Super Bowl champion Seahawks through the 2031 season. Wow. Crazy stuff. By the way, if you're an Atlanta Braves fan, you may want to just be patient in April, because guess what? Spencer Strider is going to start the year on the injured list, which means 5 guys, all expected to contribute heavily to the Braves pitching staff here at the start of the season, will begin on the injured list. The one guy who's actually, the one starter actually healthy is Chris Sale coming in. I mean, so somebody, I don't know, call up the California Penal League, see what they've got down there. They could jump in. Or maybe a kid with a crazy haircut who can give you some minutes. Just give him some glasses, help him with his eyesight. Maybe. Phillies receiver Daniel Robert collapsing following a Sunday bullpen session in spring training, is according to MLB.com. However, Robert, who has an implanted defibrillator that was activated during the incident, was stable and alert and was transported to a local hospital for evaluation. The 31-year-old spent the 2025 season in the Phillies organization after they acquired him in April via trade with the Rangers. By the way, the jersey that two-way star Shohei Ohtani wore during Japan's 13-0 win over Chinese Taipei in the World Baseball Classic just 2 weeks ago, on March 6th, it just sold for $1.5 million on MLB auctions Sunday night, the most ever paid for an Ohtani jersey at auction, and he just wore it 2 weeks ago. In that game that was played at the Tokyo Dome, Ohtani hit a grand slam and had 5 RBIs. Overall in the WBC, he hit .462 with a 1.82 OPS. Japan, by the way, the 2023 champion, they fell to eventual winner Venezuela in the quarterfinals. Another NBA note to pass along from the weekend, Kevin Durant now 5th on the all-time scoring list after passing Michael Jordan in the Rockets' 123-122 win over Miami. All right, stay with us. We've got much more to come. Another conversation on the way. Benjamin Royer talking a little NBA and Lakers. That's up next.
I get a lot of calls from people across the country who are suffering from the affliction of IRS tax debt, and that's because I have a remedy. Hi, I'm the tax doctor, and if you're having any of these tax issues, call me right now. My team specializes in helping people over the age of 50 solve their tax problems, and the bigger your tax problem is, the more money you can save. If you owe the IRS money, or you're about to owe the IRS money, or even if you need to file years of unfiled returns, call us right now. Our friendly, highly trained representatives are waiting right now to take your call. Over the years, we've helped thousands of people just like you stop the tax liens, wage garnishments, and harassing phone calls. You don't need to send the IRS a big fat check. We can negotiate a lower amount. That's what we guarantee for you. So call us right now. Call 833-789-3068.
You're locked in to Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Let's get some NBA news in right here. Big contest tonight. The Lakers in Detroit. Joining us now once again on the show, Ben Royer. Happy to have him here, the Lakers beat writer with the Orange County Register, part of the Southern California news group. Ben, good to see you again. Hey, listen, Lakers now on a win streak, kind of, coming up and gearing up for the playoffs. Here's a team all of a sudden that people are talking about again. Maybe could win a series or two here in the playoffs.
It's interesting. Just a few weeks ago, I think the biggest narrative around the Lakers was they don't have any big wins against good teams. Like the record against teams over 600 in a win percentage was pretty dismal. And then they go beat the Knicks. They beat the Timberwolves. They beat the Nuggets twice. They beat the Rockets twice. And now all of a sudden you look at this team and you go, hey, they're beating the good teams around them. Of course, that's not San Antonio and Oklahoma City, but they've won 9 straight, 12 of their last 13. And any team in the NBA doing that, heading towards the postseason, you kind of look at them and go, hey, maybe they are a contender in the way we didn't think they were a few weeks ago. So definitely firing on all cylinders with the Lake Show right now. And big game tonight in Detroit.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Thunder and Spurs kind of in a league of their own right now, but you're right there. You're ahead of the Nuggets. They've been in third place most of the year. You're ahead of the Rockets right now. What's changed in these past 3 weeks here that they weren't doing before?
It's interesting. A big conversation has been like, can guys play to their specific roles on this team? When you've got a 3-headed monster like Luka Dončić, LeBron James, and Austin Reeves, it's like, in the nicest way, can you get all 3 of them to do the things that they're best at? And at this point in LeBron James' career, LeBron James is not the leading scorer of the Lakers. Some nights he's the 3rd leading scorer of the Lakers. Some nights, if DeAndre Ayton's playing well, he's the 4th leading scorer on the Lakers. So I think the question is, could JJ Redick get guys to play to their specific roles? I mean, I don't think necessarily that's a coach thing to get guys to do that, but can the players themselves internalize, hey, DeAndre Ayton saying, hey, I'm not the number 1 pick I used to be. I need to be more of a role center, a guy that's going to make the effort plays on offensive rebounds. If that's LeBron James saying, I need to be the off-ball player because everyone still sees me as a threat, and that allows Luka Dončić to get open, allows Austin Reeves to drive, and everyone's doing that. Mm-hmm. I've been, watching every single game for the last 2 months. I've been fairly impressed with what LeBron James and how he's developed. And I think that getting guys to play to their roles, and then also defensive intensity. Lakers are one of the best defensive teams in the NBA per defensive rating since the end of the All-Star break.
Wow.
And that's impressive. They're always going to have a good offense. They were always going to be a top offense in the NBA. But a big question was, could they play defense? And can they sustain that against better teams? That's a big question. But I do think that they're at least on the right track.
Here's the question I have with LeBron, and obviously his contract's up this summer. I don't believe he retires. I think he does like the attention. He likes the spotlight. He's going to announce and get his retirement tour kind of thing. I mean, that's just there's nothing wrong with that. That's not a knock on him. That's just his personality. Someone who has covered his very first game with Cleveland. It's just who I see in a good way. That's a quality of his. So I do think he doesn't walk away. He plays somewhere. I think somehow he still stays with the Lakers. It's just my thought. But my one thing about LeBron has always been, is he willing to not be the alpha? And I always felt when they got Luka, when they finally got these pieces together, if he will defer to Luka and become kind of the secondary person, they have a chance to do some special things. Is that part of what's happening? Like I said, playing a role and maybe not being the front. I mean, you could still he's LeBron James. He still can go out and get a triple-double sometimes, right? But Luka can be the guy that kind of stirs the drink. That's what's happening there in terms of LeBron stepping back and letting Luka shine?
I think maybe a little bit. I think part of it is, LeBron James is always going to be the biggest name on a team, whether he's the best player on the team. And no matter what it is, he's going to be the guy getting fans into seats. However, most jerseys and stadiums, even in Orlando, where LeBron James passed Robert Parrish's all-time game record, most of the jerseys there were Luka Dončić jerseys. Even not so far from Miami, where he played, very important parts of his career. I will say I do think that's part of it. It's a recognition of I think it's again, this is speculation on my behalf, but I think it's sort of a front office expectation, of a coaching expectation, and a player expectation of Luka Dončić is the guy that's guaranteed to be here for more than 1 year after the season. Austin Reeves is going to be a restricted free agent and decline his player option in all likelihood and get paid a lot of money, but that could also just keep him with the Lakers as well. And then even if you don't have LeBron James, that's Luka Dončić and Austin Reeves playing together.
Yeah. So
I think there's a lot of communication over what is the priority for the Lakers here, and how do we arrange our lineups or arrange our rotations to put us in the best position going forward. And, whether I don't necessarily think it's necessarily a long-term thought process yet, but in the short term, I think on each stage of the Lakers, from the top to the bottom, I think they've realized, Luka Dončić has scored 30+ points in every game across in this win streak the Lakers are on. He scored 51 against the Bulls and 60 against the Heat. I mean, it's hard to look at Luka Dončić and say that guy should be the second on your team.
Right.
And I think even LeBron can turn around and say, Luka is likely to score more than I am. I think LeBron's still very, very confident in his shooting. I remember I asked him in San Francisco a few weeks ago, he was having a really poor shooting stretch from beyond the arc. And I kind of brought up his statistics to him, and he said, I could be shooting 0% from three and I'd still be shooting threes. It's like, it's for him, it's like they're going to fall. He has no doubt with that. So I think the Lakers understand that Luka is the guy they're leading with. I'll say this, JJ Redick was asked, not the best phrased question, but I think the answer was great. He was asked, you're in the fourth quarter, it's crunch time. Who are you going to, LeBron or Luka now? And, I don't think a coach necessarily loves that type of question. I mean, forcing you pick or whatever it is. But he basically says, Luke is the guy we're going to go to, and that's just the truth of the Lakers. Luke is the guy scoring. Luke is the guy, hottest player, in my opinion, in the NBA right now. And he's firing in all cylinders. And you can't turn around and say, let's have someone else lead the team when you've won 9 straight and 12 of your last 13.
Yeah, exactly. Talking with Ben Royer, he's a Lakers beat writer for the Orange County Register. Staying with LeBron a little bit, and I know we haven't gotten there yet, but certainly there are talks behind the scenes. Do you get a feel they'll stay with the Lakers? And my thing is, will LeBron take a pay cut? He's always like being the highest paid guy with some of the contracts that hasn't happened here in the past. Some recently in recent years, AD made more than him at one point. I think maybe he wasn't even when he left. What's your sense in terms of LeBron's future?
I still think it's very, very cloudy. I can't, I don't want to necessarily throw my pulse on it just quite yet, but I think if you asked me a few months ago, or month and a half, a month ago, when we were getting into the All-Star break and things felt fairly sentimental with a lot of stuff, there was speculation. I mean, I didn't think this, but there was a lot of people at All-Star weekend that was like, oh, he's doing his own separate press conference because he has an announcement. But that's just LeBron. LeBron's going to always have his own separate press conference. I think if you asked me then, I would have been like, yeah, he'll probably retire at the end of the season. But LeBron James loves winning. I mean, and when he's winning and he's having fun, I mean, his reactions for his teammates on the bench, the way he's hustling. I mean, there was the play against Denver overtime win a week and a half ago where he stretches across the floor and dives across the floor for a ball. And JJ Redick asks him after the game, he's like, I've never seen you do that. And I've been watching you play since you were in high school. And LeBron's response was, yeah, I've never done that before. It's like he's doing the effort things that earlier in his career he didn't even do. And this is the 41-year-old guy, not the 23-year-old role player like a Jake LaRavia, who's known for his defensive and offensive rebounding on the Lakers. This is LeBron James, who could sit back and just be the veteran on the team, the 41-year-old star that's, having the end of his shine in the NBA, but he still wants to play like he's the young guy. He does admit it hurts more, and you can't blame him. But I think it's still cloudy, his future. But I think when they're winning, it's hard to look at LeBron and go, oh, he's going to retire. I mean, I can't speculate on a pay cut right now.
Yeah.
But I think for the Lakers' financial reasons, I think they'd be very happy if LeBron returned on a pay cut, so they could help bolster this rest of the roster that does still have glaring issues.
Yeah. Take Otani's role, maybe not to that degree, but take a little haircut. You got plenty. You're making plenty, and I will tell you this. First off, love the fact he's showing that kind of hustle. That's outstanding. Like you said, for someone who's a legend, your place. You don't need the floor burns, right? You're already
exactly
doing that. That's pretty huge. Tell everyone there, by the way, that I was at LeBron's first ever game, spring training or summer ball down in Orlando. He conducted his own press conference as an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
So at a riser and a card table. I mean, it was so he good doing that kind of thing. Okay, tonight taking on Detroit. Talk about this matchup that again, another chance here to notch another win against a really quality team that right now is the favorite to win the East.
It's interesting. No Cade Cunningham with his lung problem, and then no Sasser as well tonight for the Pistons, and then Luka Dončić is going to play. I mean, there was a huge risk with this 16th technical foul he received. It was a little spat in Serbian with Goga Bitadze of Orlando Magic, and the NBA yesterday and Sunday decided to rescind both technical fouls. I think a little bit maybe of that is you don't want your stars getting suspended in the stretch of the season. I thought it was I think it's hard for officials to deem what's being said in other languages, so I understand that. But he did get his technical foul rescinded. Lakers are on this win streak. If without Luka, I thought this was going to be the end of the win streak, and now with Luka, the way he's playing, it's like I can't even imagine a world where they lose. It's a weird way. Even the games they play poorly. They played really bad their first game in Houston. They played poorly in Miami, and they won both of those comfortably by the end. And that's just like that's proof of good teams is when they play bad and still can grit out a win like that. I do think Detroit's going to show them the most difficult matchup they've had in a while, even without Cade Cunningham. There are a few teams in the NBA. The only other ones I really do point to are San Antonio, Oklahoma City, and Boston. And Detroit's the fourth. They play to a system no matter who's on the court. They are playing with the same philosophy 24/7. It could be a star or the 11th guy on the bench, and they're playing with the same hustle and passion and ideas. And that's what makes teams like Detroit so difficult. The Lakers, I think, are still JJ Redick said it a lot, and I think they've come closer to finding their quote unquote identity. He said, oh, he'll get asked this every now and again. Oh, do you think you found your identity? And he's like, yeah, we're on our way. You can only be on your way for so long with so many games left for the postseason starts. But Detroit has their identity and they play to it to a T. I think it's going to be a really fun basketball game. I'm not sure the Lakers take it, but I think it's going to be at least a very, very competitive game, which I was less sure about when Luka might have had to serve a 1-game suspension.
Sure. I got that. Time for one more question. Playoffs coming up next month. What is the ceiling for the Lakers as it stands right now?
I think a Western Conference Finals is currently their ceiling. I do think they're just going to have a really hard time defeating either one of San Antonio or Oklahoma City. It's a really, really hard task. I mean, I started as a Lakers beat writer 2 months ago, and very early on, I watched them face both Oklahoma City and San Antonio, and they played close with. They sat stars against San Antonio, so I could understand not holding too much value in that. But you watch Victor Wembanyama play the way he does, and it's like, man, I don't know how you beat that at times. And then you watch Oklahoma City play, and it's like a machine at all times. It is a wild thing to watch. The guys that they get to have big minutes, the Lou Dorts of the world, the Isaiah Joes of the world, and they're playing. They could be like the 10th guy on the Lakers bench in some worlds, and they're playing very vital, important minutes for the Thunder and turning things around and making the Thunder look like a dynasty within 2 years. And it's a wild thing, and I'm just not sure the Lakers have the bench, the big men to pull off anything more than that. They're going to need huge minutes from DeAndre Ayton if they have any chance of making the Western Conference Finals. So I think that's why it's their ceiling.
Yeah, I want to get your thoughts on that. I still feel like it is the Thunder or the Spurs coming out of the West, barring some kind of surprise.
Yes.
But it's fun to have the Lakers as part of that conversation as we do get in April. Ben, listen, enjoy the game tonight. Safe travels. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Larry.
Appreciate it, bud. Okay, Ben Royer joining us once again, Lakers beat writer for the Orange County Register, a part of the Southern California News Group. Big game tonight, Lakers and Pistons in the NBA, trying to go for 10 straight wins. Go Lakers. All right, more to come after this.
Those old golf clubs sitting in your garage right now, there's a good chance they're worth real money. That driver you replaced, those irons you upgraded, even that putter collecting dust. Golf Roots lets you trade them in for cash or credit toward your next set. And right now, Sports IQ listeners get exclusive offers. Take $20 off any order over $100 with code SIQSALE, or get a 15% bonus on your trade-in value with code SIQTRADEIN. That means the clubs in your garage could be worth even more. Golf Roots is on a mission to make golf more accessible, offering high-quality, pre-owned name brand clubs for every skill level. And if you're just starting out, the Just the Roots starter set is one of the most affordable ways to begin, with full trade-in credit when you're ready to upgrade. So don't let your old gear sit there losing value. Go to golfroots.com and see how you can start or upgrade your golf journey today. Use code SIQSALE for $20 off or SIQ trade-in for 15% extra when you trade in your old clubs. That's golfroots.com. Golf Roots. Upgrade smarter.
Okay, so the first week of the NCAA tournament is behind us. We began with 68. We're now down to 16. Producer Tony joining us now. You and I have been chomping at the bit to have this sit down all week long as we were texting all during the games. What's your big takeaway after we got these first two rounds behind us?
You look at things, Larry, and obviously the major conferences are the major players. We thought that the Big 12 might have been the best conference coming in, and they got 3 into the round of 16. What I saw was that the top of the Big 12 is really good. The middle part of that Big 12 is okay, but they're definitely lacking in something. And then what I saw is that the Big 10 from top to bottom is really strong. They kind of remind me of the SEC last year at this time. With Illinois moving on, with Iowa, that huge upset of Florida yesterday, Nebraska moving on. Nebraska had never won an NCAA tournament game before this past weekend. Now they've won 2. Now they're in their first ever Sweet 16. Great story. Great job out there by the Huskers. The top of the Big 10 still looks strong. Michigan State had to overcome things, and they did, and advanced. Michigan the same way. They had some ups and downs, but they're still Michigan, and nothing changed with what you saw as far as the top of the cream of that crop, that we saw going into the tournament. We felt that way. And injuries is always playing such a huge role in March Madness at this time of year.
Absolutely. It's one thing that, and another team you didn't mention there was Purdue, I thought was really outstanding, and both of their wins we saw the Big Ten teams not just winning, but blowing teams out. I mean, first round and second round. I mean, the Iowa game obviously was close. Nebraska route in round one, came back in round two, got the win. You were exactly right. We knew it was a deep conference. I'm impressed as well with what the Big 12 has done. We didn't talk about Houston, back-to-back 30-point wins. And as we're going to talk with Matt Stevens tomorrow, Illinois had back-to-back 20-point wins. So here are two teams that with giant scoring margins, not going head-to-head in a region all of a sudden it's kind of weak now with the first number one being knocked out in Florida. How about the Arizona Wildcats? Everyone talking about Duke, and we discussed that with Anna. I thought Arizona was one that took on a very well-schooled Utah State team that did everything right and ended up with a double-digit win, really locked him down and really wore him down in those final few minutes.
Yeah, I think Arizona is a really good. They're really deep. They're so strong along that front court. Krivas gives them great minutes in the middle. Koa Pete is solid in all phases of the game up front. And then you get to Bradley back there in the backcourt, and he just makes shots every time you need him to. And it doesn't matter where he is on the court. It doesn't matter how well you're guarding him. If he is feeling it, look, you can do all you want. He's still going to make the shot. I just love the way Arizona is playing right now under Tommy Lloyd. They are working together as a team. The defense looks really strong. The offense is coming around. And, again, going back to Purdue, Larry, you're seeing something we may never see again. You are seeing in Purdue three kids, Royer, Wren, and Smith, who have been together and been starters for 4 years. Mark it down, folks. That is not going to happen in modern college basketball again. I don't think you're going to see it in this lifetime with a team, a Power Four team like that, having three freshmen come in, stay 4 years, stay focused, play well together, and they all complement each other so well, whether it's Royer hitting the threes, Smith driving and running the offense, and then Wren inside providing defense and a great scoring touch around the basket. It's really nice to see, especially because it just won't happen again.
Yeah. How about Braden Smith becoming the all-time leading assist leader, passing Bobby Hurley on that? And Purdue all of a sudden now has won 5 straight games here into the season. Looked very pedestrian in their regular season finale 2 weeks ago in that CBS game at Ohio State. They have found their mojo here as, again, like you said, these trio of players, all Purdue legends, reached the title game 2 years ago, and they had Zach Edey in the middle and lost to UConn in their bid to repeat. So, yeah, you're exactly right. Another team we haven't talked about that I was very surprised with their play this weekend was Tennessee. That was a team that really I did not have advancing because they really struggled, over this past couple months here. Not quite the team they were last year, but Rick Barnes finding a way yet again to get them in, and really kind of a chippy game against Virginia that they ended up getting a win 79-72. And now they take on 2-seed Iowa State. You mentioned injuries. Their star player in Jefferson, they think will play, but we'll see. That was a nasty injury he suffered in the opening minute of Friday's game.
Yeah, you're not sure how well he's going to be able to play or how much he's going to be able to give them at that point, which really could hurt Iowa State in that matchup. And look, it's Larry, you and I have been involved in all kinds of office pools for many a time. There's one I've been involved with going on 40 years now. Well, I got my grandson involved in it this year, and he told me to take Tennessee in that first matchup. I didn't listen to him. I said, no. Tennessee's going to get upset. He's like, Papa, the Ament is great. Their players are great. They're going to get it done. They got a lot of depth. We should take them. And I overrode him, and he was right. I was wrong. Tennessee won that first game. I'll give the 11-year-old basketball fan credit. But boy, when it came around to picking the Sunday's games, and he said, Papa, we are taking Tennessee, period, end of story. And I went, okay. It's good. We're taking Tennessee. And, it would be a neat story for Rick Barnes, who is 71 years old, to make a Final Four, because it would be a real, possibly the capper to his career. Because, again, we just saw the guy, coach at Creighton, McDermott, step away. He's 61. Barnes is 10 years older. How much longer is he going to stay at Tennessee?
Yeah. And the other question too, the team that St. John's lost to, or St. John's beat Kansas. There's been some question about Bill Self's health. It's been well documented. His comments, after that loss was pretty demoralizing. I mean, to go down and battle like that. St. John's had the big lead. Kansas came back, tied it up late, and Darling hitting that layup there at the buzzer. That was just sheer, again, the drama of this. It was hard to turn away because every game had something to offer that just you couldn't walk away from it. But Self's comments afterwards were not of someone who's definitively going to come back next year. His health is a question too, in terms of does he retire early because of that?
Yeah, he's had a couple of heart procedures done. He's had a couple of different things go on in his life that he's had to go to the hospital for. And maybe he figures it's time to walk away. We've seen a lot of coaches, Jay Wright, walk away. He was still at the top of his game. Any number of other coaches decided, look, the NIL thing and everything just isn't working for me. Kansas had a great shot this year. They're not going to. I read a great story on CBS Sports today. They're not going to get in the next few years a player as good as Darren Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
Who is potentially the number one draft pick coming out. If you can't make hay with a Darren Peterson, yes, he had some issues. Yes, he couldn't play some games. Yes, he had cramping, blah, 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 whatever. He's still a great player. And if you can't do it with him, who can you do it with? So maybe this is a good time for Bill Self to walk. His place in the record books is secure. His place in history is secure. Maybe it's time to walk away and have Kansas look for that next coach. And look, the Kansas program has been a pretty steady program for the last 40 years with coaches. Not like they change very often. So maybe it's just time to think about the health, enjoy the time that you can with your family, and just relax and enjoy those senior years.
Hard to think that this Kansas team in the past 40 years, only 3 head coaches, Larry Brown, Roy Williams, Bill Self, been out since 2023, 23 years there in the job. Absolutely. And if he does, like you said, 2 national titles, several Final Fours, kind of what we thought he would get out of him. But how about this? How about the possibility of North Carolina and Kansas, both jobs being open the same year, just as it was back in 2003 when Roy Williams left Kansas to go to North Carolina, replacing the retired Dean Smith. Bill Self left Illinois to go to Kansas to replace Williams. Bruce Weber comes in, takes over for Self, leads Illinois to its first ever national NCAA title game when they lost to Carolina and Williams 2 years later. 23 years later, history could be repeating itself.
Absolutely. And, those blue blood programs have got to look to stay in the game. You can't rely on, look, Carolina, I'm not sure what they're going to do, but you can't just rely on the fact that Hubert Davis was a legacy, that he played at Carolina, that he coached under Williams, all of that. If he's not getting the job done, you have to make serious changes. Syracuse is the same way. They're not in the category of a Kansas or a Kentucky, but they're among the elite programs, and they've fallen off the last 4 or 5 years, the end of Boeheim's tenure, the start of Adrian Autry's tenure. They have to get it right this time. If they don't, you're looking at a program that could be, wandering the desert for 40 years, trying to find the next big oasis to come along.
Yeah. I'll say it again. We criticized Mike Krzyzewski, the way that he handled that transition. Turns out it was the best thing ever. He kept all the money in place, all the boosters, everybody's right there. And Shire hasn't missed a beat. But we've seen what happens if you don't make the right hire in these situations. Kentucky, Indiana, to some degree, UCLA, not the same as they were before. And to your point, just even though you're winning right now with these teams, North Carolina, there's a lot of competition with Duke being right there next door. A lot of NIL dollars anywhere. You can go to other places, and we're seeing these other schools right now in the Sweet 16 that have the dollars, and they've already built up their brand. Whereas one where now they are a destination place, and kids want to go there. And not just to Duke or Carolina or Kansas or Kentucky. It's a different ballgame right now.
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen it in every one of the college sports. Even in, you can go back, and if basketball needs to take a heel from somebody, take it from football. Notre Dame blew 3 or 4 hires in a row. They wandered the desert for 30 years after Lou Holtz left, almost taking the program to levels, they've not seen. They sunk so low. Same thing happening in USC right now after Pete Carroll's left. They haven't been able to hit on a coach. Coaching is so important at the college level. It has to be the right guy that has a system, that can recruit, that knows how to get good coaches around him to help him make the team better, and can recruit at a high level to keep it going. Because if not, you can take all the blue blood you want. At some point, the goodwill you've built up after 40 years runs dry.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we'll leave it there. We'll talk a lot more about this as the week goes on. Our moment of all is up next.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? There's a tremendous price war among the major term life companies. Rates have dropped dramatically in the past few years. For example, a man age 45 non-tobacco user, $1 million of coverage is only $75 per month, level for the next 10 years. Or a man age 50 non-tobacco user can buy $500,000 of coverage for a monthly premium of only $110, guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. That's right, level rates for 20 years. And if you're a smoker, we have great rates for you as well. At the Term Lifeline, we specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. So if you're looking for new or replacement term life insurance, call right now for a free quote.
Rates and availability may vary by state. Sample rate quotes are based on preferred non-tobacco underwriting exam required to qualify.
Call 855-826-7932. 855-826-7932. That's 855-826-7932.
Time now for a moment of awe. We go back to this day in 1974. It was the Final Four back then. And on this date, David Thompson and the NC State Wolfpack ending the greatest run in college basketball history in the semifinals. Thompson, Skywalker, as they called him, 28 points, 10 rebounds to overcome Bill Walton's 29-point, 18-rebound night. The Wolfpack knocking off the Bruins 80-77 in double overtime and putting an end to the Bruins streak of 7 straight NCAA championship victories. It happened on this day, 1974. Truly a moment of awe. And that's our show for today. We appreciate our guest stopping by, Anna Snyder. Hope we get you feeling better. Ben Royer, appreciate my voice hanging in there for the whole hour. We'll try it again tomorrow. For all of us on the show, make it a great Monday. We'll see you tomorrow on the Sports IQ.
Thanks for listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith, Monday through Friday. Continue the conversation at Sports IQ LS. We'll see you next time.